Christopher Brent here, coming to you from my piano studio in Troy, Michigan. Today I'm going to talk about time signatures in music. Now, if we have a 4/4 time signature, which is the most common across the board in all types of music, what this is going to mean, okay, is that we will have 4 beats that will occur in each measure. So the top number here will indicate the number of beats per measure. So we will have exactly 4 counts that will occur in the measure. Now the bottom number here is going to indicate what type of note is going to be assigned 1 count. Okay, so this tells you that a quarter note is going to get 1 count. Okay, so the rule of thumb across the board in any time signature, no matter what it is that the top number is going to tell you how many beats will occur in that measure. Okay, so mathematically speaking, when you have 4/4 time, each measure has to get exactly 4 counts, no more or no less. That has to take place, or else it's a different time signature in a sense. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other time signatures. Now, if you have 3/4, remember our rule here that the top number tells you how many beats per measure. So in 3/4 time, we have, of course, 3 beats per measure. If you have a time signature that is 2/4, this would mean that there's 2 beats per measure. You could even have 5/4. That would indicate, of course, that there's 5 beats per measure. Notice in these time signatures, the bottom number is still 4. Okay, so that's going to tell us that a quarter note is basically the center of attention in a sense, because the quarter note is going to be assigned 1 count. Okay, now the same rule applies again, that the top number tells you how many beats per measure. Okay, now there's other types of time signatures, other types of situations. Okay, so let me talk about those for a second. So I'll clear this off the board, and we'll talk about another scenario that you may have seen in your musical studies, and that is 6/8. Okay, so what does it mean here? Again, top number in the time signature tells you how many beats per measure. So in this case, we have 6 beats per measure. Okay, so that rule never changes. Top number, number of beats that will occur in each measure. Okay, bottom number. This time, when the bottom number is 8, that tells you that an 8th note is going to get 1 count. Okay, so the 8th notes are the center of attention. So a situation that you may have in 6/8 is going to be perhaps something like this, where you have 6 8th notes that would occur in 1 measure. Okay, that's a common scenario that you'll see, and you would count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so again, telling you that there has to be mathematically 6 beats per measure in 6/8 time. Okay, so now you could have 3/8, you can have 12/8, you could have 9/8, you could have 11/8. The top number could really be anything. Okay, but it always tells you, the top number that is, tells you how many beats per measure. Okay, so if there's 3/8, that's going to mean 3 beats per measure. 12/8, 12 beats per measure. 9/8, of course, 9 beats per measure. 11/8 would tell you, of course, that there's 11 beats per measure. Okay, so the general rule of thumb here, okay, is that the top number in a time signature tells you how many counts per measure. The bottom number will tell you what type of note is going to get 1 count. Okay, now the top number, if you're a composer, the top number it could be anything when you're writing a piece of music. You could write something in 5/4, 7/4, 15/4. You could really have, the top number could be anything that you want. The bottom number cannot be anything. Okay, the bottom number is going to be multiples of 2. So the bottom number would either be 2, 4, or 8. Okay? So In this case, we have 4/4. That's really common. We talked about 6/8. Okay. Now there's another time signature, 2/2. Okay. This is called cut time. Often composers will use this symbol here instead of writing 2/2. It means the same thing, cut time. Okay. This would of course mean that there's 2 beats per measure. Okay, again, the rule of the top number tells you that there's how many beats per measure, so in this case we have 2 beats per measure. The bottom 2 would tell you that a half note gets 1 count. Okay, now if the bottom number is 4, that tells you a quarter note gets 1 count. If the bottom number is an 8, that tells you that an eighth note gets 1 count. Okay, so the bottom number has to be a multiple of 2. In this case, we see 2, it can be 4, it can be 8, it could even be 16. That's pretty rare, and in that case, a 16th note would get one beat in that situation. But here, the breakdown is going to be the idea that a half note gets only 1 count. So if you're in 2/2, and that's the time signature, this would be simply counted 1, 2, like that. So you might ask, why do composers do this? Why do they write in different time signatures? Because it might be complicated to you in a sense. The reason composers do this is because certain types of music have a different feel to them. Certain styles have emphasis on certain beats. So it's necessary to assign an appropriate time signature to that situation. We hear 4/4 a lot in America in rock music. With a waltz, a dance, a minuet or a waltz, that's going to be 3/4 time. Okay, so it just depends on the feel. The song Piano Man, Billy Joel has a 3-beat feel to it like that. There's just so many different styles of music out there and so many different genres, so composers use different time signatures to implement different types of feel in their music. So, general rule of thumb with time signatures, no matter what the time signature is, the top number tells you how many beats per measure. Okay, the bottom number tells you whether it's a quarter note, a half note, an eighth note, that gets 1 count. Okay, so basically the top number can be anything, no matter what. The bottom number has to be a multiple of 2. Okay, so you'll either see 2, 4, or 8 as the bottom number. Most often you're actually probably just going to see 4 as the bottom number, because this is the most common time signature that you'll see 4/4 times. So hopefully this clears up any confusion that you may have had about time signatures. If you have any questions, email me at chrisbrentmusic@gmail.com. Visit my website, christopherbrent.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Download some of my piano music at the iTunes store. And hopefully this gives you a good understanding. You also might study up a bit on rhythm as well, understanding what quarter notes are, half notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and what that all means. So time signatures obviously have a strong relationship with rhythm and infractions in a sense. Okay, so until next time, keep on practicing, and we'll see you next time.